Thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to talk about the violence, the incredible violence of abortions, right? So surgical abortions, right? Let's say for example you're developing, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 11 weeks, 12 weeks. So let's say for example you're a developing human, right? And some terrible guy, right, comes in, and the amniotic sac, right, where you are literally inside. You got the, you're thriving, you're growing, you're gonna be what are you gonna be? Some, you know teacher, librarian, engineer, what are you going to be? Some real doctor, what are you, what are you going to be? Right? You're just a baby here, and all of a sudden there's boom, no more fluid, right? The amniotic fluid is completely gone, right? And then all of a sudden they start dashing you to bits, and they pull out your legs, and they stick needles in you, and then you literally are, your life is taken away, right? That's violence, right? That's incredible violence, right? Violence, barbarism beyond any kind of word, right? And we should speak up for the ones who were murdered, right? This is the act of not even aggravated capital premeditated murder, but it's this is one step beyond that, right? It was certainly okay. So and don't get me into it's you can only use those terms if the law of the country. I don't want to hear about that, right? This is a certain, violation of a most, special and sacred law. Thou shalt not kill, right? You cannot kill a baby. Like, these are the arts of the fallen angels, like literally the arts of the fallen angels. Like, it's so evil and wicked, right? But let me talk about literally, the most wicked and the most evil thing that there is. Okay, and this is not because it happens so many times. It is true that it happens so many more times. Okay, so abortion happens, surgical abortion happens many times. But this here, which is the whole point of the video here, the whole point of the channel, happens many more times. But it's not because it happens that so many more times that it's even more violent. It's because of the actual nature of it. Okay, so yes, it is true that it happens so many more times, but that is not the reason why it's so violent. The reason that it's so violent is because the actual nature of the violence itself, which we're going to talk about right now. So the birth control pills does not actually prevent pregnancy. It doesn't, right? It just does not prevent the pregnancy, right? It's implied, okay, yeah, it's implied that the birth control pill prevents pregnancy, right? It does prevent, well, first of all, the pregnancy doesn't start at the implantation stage, right? We talked about that, but it doesn't, right? The implantation stage is just a one stage of the developing humans, growth, right? That's just the developing human will go into the implantation stage. It's just another, it's just another stage, right? So that is not the state, that is not the start of a pregnancy. That is not the start of when a woman is pregnant. So a woman is pregnant versus, there's a baby conceived, all right? So the baby's conceived, right? So the baby is part one, the mother is part two, and the father is part three. So we got three-part deal here. This is a three-person team, right? The baby is conceived. The mother is the first parent, or the second parent, or parent A, parent B, parent, 50% of the, of the parental DNA comes from the mother, and 50% of the DNA comes from the father, right? So there's a three-person team, okay? There's a three-person team. It's very important to remember that. So the thing about the violence is that, and it's so very, oh, so frightening to imagine, is that, so there's a conception, right? That the baby boy, baby girl will be conceived. It's a very beautiful thing, right? The oocyte, right? Some people call it the eggs. We're not chickens, right? This is the oocyte of the mother, right? Will meet from the sperm of the father, okay? And the oocyte there will be a kind of like an interview, a job interview process. The oocyte will pick the most valiant sperm, literally, right? There's a selection process, right? This is a very beautiful process, right? This is a very, um, uh, it solidifies the idea that this is an intelligent design. I mean, it's very clear that it's an intelligent design. Right? Darwinism. It's, this is the final nail on the coffin. If you study embryology and you're still an evolutionist, I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? How can you connect those two dots, right? So evolutionism is, it's simply wrong, once you remember about embryology and all that stuff. So the developing human, right? This is the first moment. This is the best day of my life, right? Is the the developing human, right? So then there will be what is called the zygotic genome activation. The zygotic genome activation, or ZGA. If you just type in ZGA embryology, you will see this is an incredible. Process that happens, prior to, much prior to the implantation stage. So you want to tell me that the pregnancy starts at the implantation stage? No, it doesn't. Right? This is not when the pregnancy starts. This is when the woman, the baby travels in the woman's fallopian tubes and then will implant in the womb of the mother. I mean, that's the only thing that will happen there. But the starting of a pregnancy, no, I mean it's just wrong, and that is not the way it is, right? That is not the way it is, right? So what is violent, what is very violent and very, very evil, is that this birth control pills does not actually prevent the pregnancy. It doesn't actually prevent the conception. The woman will be pregnant. The child will be conceived. The father, right? The man is a father of a child and has the duty to protect his child, right? But unfortunately, he chose to get with a girl that has taken the pills, and maybe she didn't tell him, or maybe he's unaware because he's ignorant of the fact that if he engages in that kind of stuff with the woman, and the sperm will travel, and then it's just okay, it does prevent the conception sometimes, but other times it will not, and then this baby here will be a very, it's a viable pregnancy, man. It's a baby boy or baby girl, okay? So, don't give me anything about the blastocyst failed to implant, or the pregnancy is only starting at the implant. It's not, right? Okay, so here's the violence, right? The violence is when there's a zygote, the zygote. This is everything that I'm saying is just stages of a developing human. If you're going to use a zygote, or a morula or a blastocyst in an effort to dehumanize, right, this developing human, this baby, right, this is a developing human, that's all it is, right? It's a developing human. There's a zygotic stage, morula stage, blastocyst stage, there's the embryonic stage, right, and all the stuff, right? So this is a developing human. So if you're going to use those words, right, a fetus is not a person, a fetus is not a baby. The only windbags that are going to be using that, they're using that in an effort to dehumanize, right, this baby. They're dehumanizing this baby, right, in an effort to mask their conscience, or suppress their conscience, if you will, to be able to kill that baby, right, to kill the developing human. All right. So here's the violence, right? So let's say, for example, the baby travels down the fallopian tube, and then hey, yeah, this is a wonderful, this is wonderful. I'm finally going to be able to, to hold, to be embraced and to be held, and to not meet my mother, but basically be connected to my mother's womb, if you will. And the baby fails to implant. The developing human fails to implant because of the mechanisms of the drug, right? So the mechanisms of the drug will create the situation where this is violent, right? This is extremely violent, and then so violent that the baby will die. And here's the violent part, okay? So what happens to this clump of cells? Clump of cells, clump of cells. You hear that all the time. Clump of cells. So what will actually happen to the clump of cells? And that's, I've never heard any pro-life or pro-choice argument ever discuss this. And this is probably the worst, most violent part. Is there like some sort of burial in it? There's a very, very nice executive a cemetery. It's not a cemetery. It's a memorial garden. It's one notch above a cemetery. It's a very, very nice place. I was like, whoa. So we were driving there, and I was like, oh man, I want this. It's not a cemetery because it's an executive cemetery. Very expensive. Yeah, a very nice thing. So you can buy a plot. I was actually thinking about it because it's so nice, man. I want to spend my my time there if I die. Let's say, for example, I were to die, I want to be buried at this executive kind of. Oh my goodness, there's a little bit of chicken over here. One of them. You got a chicken over here. But let's say, for example, okay, so the point about what I'm trying to say about the cemetery is you're going to have a place to to be remembered, right? To be honored. But the thing about this is that this baby is a developing human, right? This developing human is just as alive as me and you, and just as important as me and you, and simply because of the early stage of development, right? Simply because of the early stage of development. Oh my goodness, it's so noisy, right? Simply because of the early stage of development, you're going to have this baby, right? This developing human, and it pains me to even say that this is how violent it is in the wastewater system. In the wastewater system, right? The baby will literally end up in the wastewater system, right? In the latrine, right? Imagine that, right? Imagine that for your own baby, right? So, I mean, this is violence. This is violence beyond words. Violence that I cannot even properly put into words, right? I cannot. I'm having struggling to um, I'm telling you the words, but I got some chickens here yelling in the background. And I got these distractions trying to. Oh man, I made another video. I'm trying to explain how violent this is. Right, this is extremely violent. Right, the birth control pills is extremely violent. Okay, so number one, the baby is it's a developing human. Morula, it's a developing human. So the zygote, a developing human. Morula, developing human. Blastocyst, developing human. Embryo, developing human. Fetus, developing human. Right, stage, trimester 1, developing human. Trimester 2, developing human. Trimester 3, developing human. A baby. It's my daughter's birthday today. She was born, exactly 3 years ago. So that's my daughter's birthday today. We're the 12th of August here. She was born on 2022 or 2025 right now. She was born on the 12th of August, 2025. So my daughter's birthday. I love her very much. She's phenomenal. It's my baby girl. Toddler, developing human, child, developing human, adolescent, developing human. Oh man, I saw this terrible thing, man. This girl drowned. Oh man, I was very upset. I friggin' cried, man. I was so, oh man, traumatized my brain. To be honest, she wasn't 15 or 16 years old, something like that. She's drowning and she can't even, got the CPR going on. Oh man, I don't think they brought her back. I couldn't even watch it. The video was so clear too. That guy took a video. Oh man, what a sad friggin' case, man. Our teenage lady here just gone. That was sad, man. I friggin' cried. Yeah, so that is one death. But there's deaths all over the place, man. So that's why I couldn't be in Clare anymore, because I mean that one death over there. This is a very rare case. Over here, there's not too many deaths, not too many deaths. But in Clare, it's always, everywhere I look, it's a death and a death and a death and abortion, birth control, but everywhere in Clare, man, it's a culture of death. And why? Because I mean, over here, life is protected. Where I am here, life is protected. It's protected from conception, right? Because I mean, a conceived, like a 1 day developing human or 100-day developing human is still a developing human, right? So the violent aspect of it really is, at the end of the day, when the the, the clump of cells will be into the wastewater system. That's so violent. That's so evil. Let's say, for example, you have this forensic guy, and he's going to look in and everything. He's going to be able to find a DNA. Why? Because there is a DNA. There's a new set of DNA, 50% from the mother and 50% from the father, right? So this DNA doesn't come cheap and doesn't come easy, right? This DNA will never, ever be replicated ever again. Once you kill that human, that developing human, which Dr. Michel has done, there's a penalty. There's a penalty, yeah, for sure. That is a vile, wicked thing that she has done, right? And that's the whole point of this YouTube channel, to expose the gravity of the situation, right? It's a violent act, and like I said, at the end of the day, right, the baby will be not honored in a, for example, a cemetery or something like that. It will be, in a wastewater system. Oh, it hurts my heart. Man, that's awful, right? That is awful. I'll see you. Bye bye.